include them. And so that's the clarity that I think politically conscious wanted to bring to the table today, and I think we've done that. But speaking of, again, a day before the vote, here's a clip that I think we should respond to based on the last conversation. So let's jump into this as well.
Time to hold the vote until we get something. It's time to hold the vote until we get something.
Anybody telling you that you gotta vote, be skeptical.
I want you to spot the difference between the way that right-wing conservatives are talking about voting and the way that people allegedly interested in progress are talking about voting. Every election cycle, someone insists that black folks, for one reason or another, should not vote.
Hold the vote until we get something.
But have you ever noticed that conservative white people are rarely, maybe even never told that they should be withholding their vote? In fact, this is what white Christian nationalists have been saying to each other in plain sight for decades.
They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote.
That's Paul Weyrich back in 1980.
Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now.
He's a godfather in the modern conservative movement, and he co-founded the Heritage Foundation. Yes, the folks who have been producing the document known as Project 2025 for the last 40 plus years.
As a matter of fact, our leverage in the
So I wanted to bring that to the table because if you recall, our last conversation was, us breaking down what you're actually getting for your vote. And as you beautifully highlighted on the last conversation, you're not going to see a legislation or a law or an act that says for black people, right? We just highlighted understanding how all these different laws, as you said, I forgot the word you kept using, but you kept saying it. It affects us. It was a word you kept. It was beautiful. You kept saying it. How they affect us materially. Materially, I think that's what something.
Mm-hmm. Material effect of a law on a specific group like us. See, as much as I enjoy Dr. Umar and Ice Cube, I cannot stand the thought that withholding a vote is somehow power. It is not power, because what it does is it surrenders power to the people who do vote. It magnifies the effect of their vote, because now when you withhold your vote, you are now saying to them, you pick, you decide on my behalf until I get what I want. But the way that I get what I want, just as it's been demonstrated in the past, especially in the past 16 years since the election of Barack Obama, a small group of very dedicated voters can have an outsized effect on politics. A small group of dedicated voters can have an outsized effect on an agenda. And the name of that group in 2008, 2009 was called the Tea Party. They were not a large group of people, but man, they struck fear in the hearts of representatives across the country, across the Republican Party. Why? Because they were almost fanatical about voting in every single election. And what happened was, instead of surrendering their vote and saying, if you don't give me what I want, I don't play, they said, if you don't give me what I want, I'll create havoc for you. I will make your life hell
during primaries.
Your ability to get reelected.
During primaries.
Primaries are the most powerful part of the electoral process, and nobody gets it. I wish people understood. If the turnout for this election is going to be ridiculous, it's going to be very high, somewhere in the neighborhood of 65% ish. But in primaries across the country, off years, and when I say off years, I don't mean like the
this is non-presidential.
I'm talking about like the odd year election, the 2021.
Yeah, the non-presidential. The non-presidential, which is every year. Every year except for every 4 years. All the non-presidentials. That's what
all the non-presidentials.
Yeah, go ahead.
And here's what I'm saying is those little tiny elections that people don't go to, and you say, oh, the candidates are terrible. The candidates are terrible because you didn't vote in the primary. You didn't pick a person that you wanted that could have been more radical, that could have been more progressive or more conservative or more liberal or more center.
Or more to your point, that's exactly what the Tea Party did to become the force they eventually became and surprised the Republicans because they were killing the primaries.
They were, when I say fanatical, their turnout within the Tea Party was incredibly robust, right? And you can go back and look at the numbers, but they controlled politics. Because if you don't get past the primary, you don't get reelected to Congress. You don't get reelected to anything. So their point was, we're going to exercise our vote where it matters most, where it hurts you the most. And then another person from that party who's not the incumbent, who doesn't have the inertia of residency, right, can come in and make those changes. And they knew that power. So instead of hearing hold your vote, which surrenders power, we should be saying, if they don't hear you, you go to that primary and you get them out of here. It doesn't matter who you replace them with. The point is, you get them out of here. You're not going to play the game where my vote's taken for granted. My vote matters.
And I've always offered this solution, which I